Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, hosted by Todd DeVoe, where planning is reality.
Good morning. Good morning. Communication. This is what we're talking about today. Communication is vital. And, at the end of the day, communication is a critical function of disaster response. And so behind the scenes during any disaster or emergency or crisis that is occurring, there are scores of public information officers, the state, local agencies, and also private businesses that are working 24 hours a day. And part of the thing with communication isn't just putting out information. It's also finding information, fact-finding this information, rumor control, and being able to get the information out in consumable, digestible bites. And that's the challenge, right? I don't know if you've ever been on that side of an event, but public information officers do work hard during these crises. So in a recent study, it assessed how PIOs use social media to communicate during emergencies, and they found that social media has changed the landscape of public sector communications, and then I would say in private sector communications as well, and how it's a key tool during disasters and emergency, but it also brings new challenges such as coping with the huge volumes of information and determine whether the reports and information is credible. Rumor control. Good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity, as Nate Turner says. So welcome to Titan HST's Business Continuity Today, and I am your host, Todd DeVoe. So behind the scenes of every disaster, we have troops working specifically in communication, and this is, like I said, we call our PIOs. Why are they important, and how do they play their role? Well, at the end of the day, working in emergency operations centers, working from government, working from crisis management, communication is how we relate to those that are not inside the circle, right? So that is, you have to send information out to the public, right? And how do we do this? We do this with our PIOs. Now, we've seen examples of good PIOs during, if you take a look at the bombing in Nashville, the PIO and the press conferences that they put on over there were great. If you want to look at a great example on that, they went up there, the PIO briefed his leadership and put them on the stage, if you will. They went up there, they said their piece, and they got off, and were able to do answers and questions later, or question and answers, if you will. And so that being said, that you have to look for those examples. I've seen worse. I've seen where you have somebody who is in front of the camera and it becomes a feeding frenzy for the media, asking questions and not being able to have the correct answers, and or if not the right information, not understanding how to say things. Not like no comment, for instance, is terrible, but saying, I do not have an answer to this. I can't tell you this answer for right now. We're in the middle of the investigation. Seems to be those typical things that people say, but there's a truth to it. So in the case that we're looking at here with the communication that occurred during Dorian, right? This hurricane comes in and it was supposed to hit Florida, but it kind of skirted Florida and it really hit South Carolina. 19 people were killed. Damages were estimated about $1.5 billion. And, South Carolina organized and operated their EOC, and information was starting to be controlled, not controlled information, but being vetted and sent out via the state. And so messaging was critical. So messages come in various forms, right? Or typical media, such as your 24/7 news media, and then social media is what seems to be the way to communicate today. And that's just kind of where that study came out of, was during that crisis. Here in California, where I live, the use of Twitter is critical during the wildfires. And if you follow any of the CDC or your local county fire department, CDC, CDF, or the California Department of Forestry, National Fire and also your local fire department, you'll see information being shared pretty timely basis, especially when it comes into road closures, into evacuations, and where shelters and other care and reception centers are being put up. And Twitter seems to be the place where most people are going for their information today. So if you do not have a social media manager or somebody who's in your PIO section deal with social media, you're behind the eight ball. Now, this shouldn't be news, right? This isn't information that is brand new to those of us in emergency management, but utilizing them in a way where you're sending the same information across the board, you need to use tools that are out there. You can use things like, which is kind of expensive in a way, but you can use things like CoSchedule or Hootsuite or things like this. Or if you're using regular messaging, like if your emergency notification system, like we have here at Titan HST, you can utilize the embedded social media management tool that's in with that communication. So it's very important to send the same information out to everyone and not have misinformation being sent. So the other part about it too is deciding what to send out, right? Now, obviously we could say, hey, we're sending information out. That's the easy one, right? But deciding what information to send out, that is critical, right? So again, having your team set up to take a look at misinformation that's being put out there. And I'm not going to go as far as saying it's nefarious misinformation, but you know how it goes when you talk about the telegraph, telefirefighter. Sorry, guys, I had to put that out there. But the idea of you put information out, rumors start going. The old, the telephone game, if you will, right, where the information that starts off at one end is completely different by the time it gets to the other end. That is the stuff that you need to do as communications, as PIOs, is to look at this information, make sure it's vetted, and put out the proper information. And using Twitter, like I said, right now seems to be the place to go for people during emergencies to quell and to squash the rumors, if you will, and to make sure proper information is being given out. I think is one of those critical things that PIOs do. In the past, we think of PIOs as being the people that just write press releases, organize the press conferences, things like this, maybe answer a few questions on the phone here and there. But the role is more critical today than it has ever have been. With social media going out and being this catalyst of information, good and or bad, getting ahead of that rumor mill is critical job of the PIO. So the digital world post ethical challenges that require broad-based efforts across many platforms, and being able to get this information in, being able to analyze it, and being able to digest it, and to be able to make sure that it's right. Like I've said, and I keep saying this over and over again in this episode because I think it's important, right? I feel like I'm standing up on a soapbox and banging my fist down on the ground of how important information sharing is. So at the end of the day, it is critical for everybody to have a plan, a PIO plan, a crisis communications plan going forward. And this should be part of your emergency operations plan. This should be part of your business continuity plan. This should be part of your everyday exercises. Well, I would say thank you so much for joining us here today with Business Continuity Today. And we look forward to bringing more information to you on a weekly basis. And I really do appreciate spending time with you. And until next week, stay safe and stay hydrated.